The screech of tires ripped through the night like a scream I couldn't unhear. Metal twisting into a symphony of chaos that ended with my world going black. I woke to the sterile beep of machines and a pain so raw it felt like my soul had been yanked back from the brink. Only to find him, Dr. Ethan Hale, leaning over me, his steady hands the first anchor in the storm. In that fractured moment, as his voice cut through the fog with calm precision, I knew this wasn't just survival. This was the spark of something sacred, a second life I would chase with every calculated breath. Rain hammered the windows of St. Mary's Hospital in downtown Seattle, mirroring the relentless pulse in my veins as nurses bustled around my bed. I was Alex Rivera, 28, a freelance graphic designer who'd been barreling down I-5 after a late-night client pitch, phone in hand, when a semi-truck hydroplaned into my lane. Witnesses said it was a miracle I walked away, well, limped, really, with a shattered femur, cracked ribs, and a concussion that left my memories in shards. But miracles have names, and his was etched into my chart, Dr. Ethan Hale, trauma surgeon, the man whose scalpel and sutures had pieced me back together. He'd been there from the OR, his gloved hands steady as he navigated the wreckage inside me, whispering encouragements I half-dreamed through the anesthesia haze. "Hang on, Alex. You got a fighter's heart." Those words looped in my mind like a mantra, pulling me from the void. By the time I surfaced fully, 3 days later, he was already a ghost in the room, gone to his next case, leaving only the faint scent of antiseptic and sandalwood on the air. But I remembered everything, the way his hazel eyes crinkled with quiet intensity, the subtle flex of his forearms under rolled sleeves, the depth in his voice that made vulnerability feel like victory. Discharge came too soon. A Thursday afternoon when the autumn chill seeped through the Puget Sound fog. Crutches under my arms, I hobbled to the lobby, my best friend Mia waiting with her beat-up Subaru. She was all fierce hugs and bad jokes, the kind of straight ally lesbian who'd drag me to Pride every June just to see me blush. "You're a phoenix, babe," she said, slinging my duffel over her shoulder. Hotter than before, scars and all. I laughed, but my eyes scanned the halls one last time, hoping for a glimpse of white coat and quiet command. Nothing. Just the echo of footsteps fading into the rain-slicked streets. Back in my Capitol Hill apartment, a cramped one-bedroom stacked with sketch pads and half-finished logos, the silence hit hardest. My leg throbbed under the fresh cast, a constant reminder of how close I'd danced with death. Nights blurred into feverish sketches, abstract swirls of red and blue, chaos resolving into harmony, always with a central figure, tall, poised, eyes like storm-tossed seas. I couldn't shake him. Ethan Hale wasn't just my savior. He was the axis my reborn world spun on. And in the quiet desperation of recovery, an idea bloomed, wild and unbidden. What if this second chance wasn't random? What if I could engineer it? Pull the strings until fate bent to my will? It started small, innocent enough to fool even myself. A Google search that first week, Dr. Ethan Hale, Seattle. His profile popped up on the hospital's site, board certified. Accolade from Johns Hopkins. A photo that stole my breath. Mid-30s. Dark hair threaded with silver at the temples. A smile that promised both precision and passion. No personal details. No social media trail. The man was a fortress. But Seattle was small for its size. A web of coffee shops and craft breweries where lives intersected like plot lines in one of my designs. I mapped it out on a napkin. Recovery PT at a clinic 2 blocks from his hospital. Volunteer gigs at the same ER auxiliary. Coincidences. I call them. Serendipity. The first orchestration came on a crisp October morning, 2 weeks post-discharge. I convinced Mia to drop me at Cascade Physical Therapy, claiming the Yelp reviews were unbeatable. Truth? It was the closest spot to ST. Mary's Cafeteria, where staff grab lattes between shifts. I positioned myself on the recumbent bike, sweat beading despite the controlled pace. Window angled just so toward the street. And there he was, crossing the crosswalk in navy scrubs. Earbuds in, stride purposeful yet unhurried. My heart slammed like a bass drum. I fumbled my water bottle, spilling it across the mat in a clumsy splash that drew stares. Need a hand, the therapist, a burly guy named Tom, chuckled as he mopped it up. But I barely heard, eyes locked on the figure pausing at the coffee cart. He ordered a black Americano, no frills, then glanced my way. Our gazes snagged. Electric. Recognition flickered in his eyes, and he altered course, pushing through the clinic door with that effortless grace. Alex Rivera? His voice was even richer without the or echo, laced with genuine surprise. Up close, he smelled of fresh rain and hospital starch, his white coat slung over one arm like a cape. DR. Hail. I extended a hand, pulse racing under my skin. Fancy meeting you here. Guess my legs got impeccable timing. He shook it firmly, his palm warm against my clammy one, lingering a beat too long. Ethan, please. And yeah, small world. How's the femur holding up? No phantom pains. We talked for 10 minutes, me perched awkwardly on the bike, him leaning against the intake desk like we were old bar buddies. He asked about my designs. Remembered I'd mentioned a logo gig in my intake notes. I asked about his shift. Learned he pulled 12-hour marathons, saving lives like mine. When he left, promising to check in on my next follow-up, I felt it, the first thread woven. Fragile but real. Emboldened, I wove more. Signed up for a hospital blood drive the following Saturday, positioning myself at the refreshment table with Mia's donated cookies spiked with extra chocolate. My secret weapon. The ER buzzed with weekend casualties, flu shots gone wrong. A kid with a skateboarding wipeout, but Ethan appeared like clockwork, rolling up his sleeve for a pint. Again, I teased, handing him a juice box with a grin. You're making this look easy. He laughed, a low rumble that vibrated through me. Got to keep the supply chain going. You volunteering now? That's commitment. Paying it forward, I said, heart of my throat. Our fingers brushed as I passed the cookie plate, a spark that neither acknowledged but both felt. We chatted about Seattle's endless drizzle, the best hole-in-the-wall faux spots. He mentioned a dog, a golden retriever named Max. Therapy certified, and I filed it away like treasure. By the third chance encounter, at a farmer's market in Fremont where I'd happened to scout for organic teas, really, I'd seen his Instagram story tag the vendor. The pattern hummed with risk. He spotted me first this time, waving from across the stalls laden with heirloom apples and artisanal cheeses. Alex, you're everywhere. There was a lilt in his tone. Amusement laced with something sharper. Curiosity? Suspicion? Stalking the produce aisle, I quipped, holding up a bunch of kale like a trophy. We wandered together, him in weekend casual, a Henley that hugged his broad shoulders. Jeans faded just right, me in my post-PT sweats. Crutches traded for a slight limp. Conversation flowed like the ship canal nearby. Deep dives into favorite books. He loved Hemingway's raw honesty. I confessed to devouring Auden for its queer undercurrents. Gripes about healthcare bureaucracy. Dreams deferred. He was divorced. I learned 5 years back. Amicable but hollow. No kids. No current flames. Surgery takes what it gives, he said, eyes distant over a cider sample. And me? I danced around the truth. The gay man in his late 20s who'd lost his last boyfriend to a job transfer in New York, leaving me adrift in hookups that felt like echoes. But with Ethan, it was different, charged, alive. As we parted under the market's strung lights, he clapped my shoulder, thumb lingering. Keep showing up. Alex. Seattle suits you. That night, alone with my sketchpad, I drew us, silhouettes against the market bustle. Hands inches apart, the space between crackling with unspoken want. Reborn. Yes, but hungry now, for the man who'd stitched my body and was unraveling my heart. The limp faded by November, my femur knitting stronger than before. But the ache for Ethan only deepened, a sweet torment that fueled my designs. Commissions poured in, album covers for indie bands, branding for queer-owned cafes, each stroke of the stylish channeling that electric pull. Mia noticed, of course. Over takeout pad thai in her queen and walk up, she pinned me with those knowing eyes. Spill it. Rivera. You got that glow-up vibe, but it's not just the scars healing. Who's the muse? I deflected with a laugh, but she pressed, relentless as Seattle traffic. Fine, I admitted finally, sketching idle hearts on the carton lid. It's the doc. Ethan. We're orbiting. Her grin split wide. Orbiting? Honey. That's code for crushing hard. Just don't go full rom-com stalker. He's straight-edge surgeon material. Was he? The question gnawed as I plotted the next thread. Christmas loomed, markets twinkling with lights, and I unearthed gold, a hospital holiday gala for staff and VIP donors. VIP? Close enough. My accident had made the local news. A fluff piece on Miracle Man walks again. I RSVP'd with a donation from my latest paycheck. Heart pounding as I picked a suit. Slim charcoal. No tie. Shirt unbuttoned at the collar to hint at the ink peeking from my chest. A swallow in mid-flight. Inked after my ex left. The ballroom at the Edgewater glowed like a fever dream. Evergreens dripping with ornaments. Jazz quartet crooning Sinatra. I nursed a gin and tonic, scanning the crowd of white coats and sequins. When he materialized, Ethan in a tailored navy suit that sculpted his frame, hairstyled just tousled enough to invite fingers. Our eyes met across the first-scented air, and he carved a path through admirers. Glass of scotch in hand. Alex. You clean up dangerously well. His smile was easy, but his gaze dipped, tracing the line of my jaw, the exposed skin of my throat. Blame the invite. Figured I owed the place a face. We clinked glasses, the chime sealing something irrevocable. The night unspooled in a haze of small miracles, a slow dance to the way you look tonight, his hand firm at my waist. Breath warm against my ear as he murmured about botched appendectomies and holiday miracles. Laughter came easy, laced with touches, his knee brushing mine under the table, my fingers grazing his cufflink. Later, on the hotel balcony overlooking Elliott Bay, the city lights fracturing on black water. He leaned close. You're different, Alex. Not just surviving, you're thriving. It's inspiring. My pulse thundered. You gave me the canvas. I just started painting. The words hung, heavy with subtext. And for a heartbeat, his eyes darkened, lips parting as if to bridge the gap. But then a colleague called him back, pages beeping like jealous sirens, and the moment shattered. Still, it lingered. Texts followed, casual check-ins that bloomed into late-night threads about everything and nothing. Max, chew my slipper again. Send help. I'd reply with dog memes. Heart emojis slipping in like secrets. By New Year's, I'd orchestrated a spontaneous hike at Discovery Park, me testing the leg, him off duty with Max in tow. The trail wound through sword ferns and cedars. Salt air whipping our faces as the retriever bounded ahead. You're a natural liar, he said halfway up, voice teasing but edged. We paused at a bluff, waves crashing below, and his stare pinned me. The PT, the market, the gala. Not all accidents, right? Heat flooded my cheeks. But I met his gaze, raw and unyielding. Guilty. But every meeting felt inevitable. Like you pull me back for a reason. Silence stretched, taut as the horizon. Then, softly, maybe I did, his hand found mine. Calluses from scalpels rough against my palm. And when he pulled me close, the world narrowed to the salt on his skin, the hesitant press of his mouth to mine. It was tentative at first, a question, then fierce, years of restraint unraveling in the wind. We kissed like men starved, bodies aligning as if mapped from the start, his fingers threading my hair, mine clutching the wool of his jacket. But rebirths have thorns. As we broke apart, breathless, a shadow crossed his face. Alex, I'm not out. Not to anyone. This job, my family, they expect the script. Wife, kids, the whole hetero playbook. The words landed like a scalpel's nick, precise, drawing blood. I nodded, throat tight. I get it. But scripts can rewrite. We drove back in charge quiet. Max's snores the only buffer. That night, alone, I stared at the ceiling, the taste of him lingering like a promise laced with peril. Orchestration had ignited the flame, but fanning it meant risking the burn for both of us. Winter thawed into a gray spring. Seattle skies weeping petals on his slick streets. My designs exploded. A queer-lit mag commissioned a series on second acts, and Ethan's face haunted every line, subtle, shadowed, a ghost in the margins. Our encounters shifted underground, stolen coffees at off-hour diners, midnight walks where hands linked in the dark, kisses that grew hungrier, bodies pressing against brick walls in alleys off Pike Place. He opened like a wound healing backward, confessions spilling in whispers. Divorced because his ex sensed the chasm, the man he loved but couldn't fully give to. The late nights not at the hospital but questioning in dive bars. I saved lives. Alex. But mine? Buried it deep. I'd hold him then, tracing the tension from his shoulders, whispering that love wasn't a procedure, it defied the charts. Yet drama coiled, inevitable as tide. His sister, Claire, a sharp-tongued lawyer visiting from Portland, crashed a casual dinner I'd hosted, me oblivious. Him panicked. She clocked the vibe instantly, the way his eyes softened on me, the lingering touches over wine. Ethan, what's this? She cornered him post-meal, me feigning dish duty in the kitchen. It's nothing, he hissed, but she wasn't buying. By week's end, texts from him grew frantic. She's digging. Told Mom I'm distracted. We need to cool it. Cool it? The words gutted me. I paced my apartment, crutches long discarded but phantom pains flaring in my chest. Mia found me there, curled on the couch with a half-empty beer. Babe, straight passing docs don't rewrite overnight. Give him space or lose him. Space felt like amputation. But I orchestrated one last gambit, born of desperation and dawn-like clarity. A weekend symposium on trauma recovery at UW-Med, me as panelist, sharing my miracle story, him as keynote. The auditorium hummed with professionals, lights harsh on the stage. I spoke first, voice steady. Accidents don't end us, they redefine. Mine gave me scars. And a sight I never expected. Eyes on a crowd, but really on him in the wings. Hazel, depth stormy. His talk followed. Brilliant as ever, data on resilience. Slides flashing like lifelines. But midway, he faltered, glancing my way. Sometimes, he said, voice cracking the polish. The patient saves the doctor. The room applauded. Oblivious, I saw the fracture. After, in a green room, door locked. We collided, fists and shirts, mouths bruising. Urgency born of brinkmanship. I can't hide anymore, he gasped against my neck. Claire cornered me, said she knew, from college crushes I'd buried. Mom called, worried. It's unraveling. Alex, and I don't want to stitch it back. Then don't. I cupped his face, thumbs tracing jawline stubble. Be the fighter you saw in me. We made love there, on the lumpy couch amid coffee stains and scripts slow, reverent, then wild, bodies mapping each other's terrain like uncharted coasts. His hands learned me, the dip of my spine, the freckles across my ribs. Mine claimed him, the pulse at his throat, the tremor in his thighs. It was communion, raw and redemptive. Sweat-slick skin whispering truths words couldn't touch. But Kismet's cruel, dawn brought reckoning. Claire texted mid-embrace. Family dinner tomorrow. Bring your friend, Alex. No more games. Brother. The Hale family dinner unfolded in Claire's sprawling Bellevue home. A modernist glass box perched on Lake Washington. Views stretching to the Cascades like a taunt of untamed wilds. I arrived with Ethan, his hand clammy in mine as we crossed the threshold, orchids blooming defiant in the foyer. The air thick with rosemary from the kitchen. This wasn't orchestration, it was surrender. The strings I'd pulled now tangling around us both. His parents waited. Margaret, silver-haired and steel-eyed. A retired professor with a hug that measured rather than enveloped. Richard, broad-shouldered ex-engineer. Grip firm on my handshake. Questions probing like diagnostics. Claire hovered, wine glass in hand, her smile a scalpel's edge. Alex, the miracle man. Ethan's been glowing since your accident. We settled at the oak table, candles flickering over seared salmon and heirloom salads. Conversation skating surfaces, weather's fickle turn. Richard's golf handicap. But undercurrents swirled. Ethan's knee pressed mine, a silent morse of support. Then Margaret leaned in, forepoised. Ethan tells us you're a designer. Alex, quite the artist. Does your work reflect life's complexities? The room hushed, all eyes on me. I swallowed, gin steadying nerves. It does. Layers. You know, what's hidden beneath the polish, scars that tell stories. Loves that defy the frame. Claire's brow arched. Richard cleared his throat. Ethan squeezed my hand under the tablecloth. Knuckles white. Dessert came, tiramisu forward with espresso shots, and that's when the levee broke. Claire, ever the catalyst. Set down her spoon. Let's cut the charade. Ethan's seeing you. Alex. And it's not friends. Mom. Dad, our boy's gay. Has been since forever. For what I pieced together, silence crashed like a wave. Margaret's face paled. Richard's jaw clenched. Ethan's breath hitched beside me. I braced, but he spoke first, voice low, unyielding. It's true. Alex didn't just survive that crash. He pulled me from mine. I love him. And I'm done pretending. Chaos erupted. Margaret's gasp. Richard's muttered son. Claire's nod of vindication. Plates clattered as voices overlapped. Hurt. Confusion. The raw fray of family threads snapping. Ethan stood, pulling me up with him, eyes fierce. This is me. Take it or leave it. We fled to the lakeside deck. Rain spitting from low clouds. Ethan's arms around me as sobs racked him. Not despair, but release. They'll come around, I murmured, kissing his temple. Or they won't. But we're the story now. Inside, bridges smoldered but didn't burn. Claire followed, wrapping Ethan in a hug. Idiot. I love you, rainbow flag and all. Margaret joined tentative, tears carving lines on her cheeks. We need time. But you're our son. Always. Richard lingered last, clapping Ethan's shoulder. Voice gruff. Proud of you, boy. Just. Don't scare us like that again. By midnight, as we drove back to the city, Ethan's hand rested on my thigh, the radio humming soft indie folk. You orchestrated this too? He teased. Voice husky. Only the good parts, I replied, leaning into his warmth. Spring unfurled fully then, cherry blossoms rioting pink along the waterfront, our lives entwining like roots under soil. Months blurred into a rhythm of us, mornings with Max bounding between our legs as Ethan scrambled eggs in my kitchen, evenings sketching side by side, his head on my shoulder, red pen marking charts while I layered pixels into dreams. He came out at work, slow, seismic, first to his residence over beers, then hospital admin, earning nods and the occasional raised brow. A colleague, Dr. Patel, slapped his back. Knew you had layers. Hail. Welcome to the rainbow shift. Drama lingered. Those subtle stings. A patient's family mistook us for bros at a consult. Ethan's flinch a ghost I'd kiss away later. My own shadows surfaced, nightmares of twisted metal. Waking sweat-drenched. Ethan's arms my tether. You're safe, he'd whisper, fingers tracing my scars. We're the miracle now, summer crested with pride. Seattle streets a kaleidoscope of flags and glitter. We marched hand in hand, Mia whooping ahead. Ethan tentative at first, then beaming, chest puffed as cheers washed over us. That night, under Capitol Hill's throbbing bass, we danced in a sea of bodies. his lips on mine amid confetti storms. This, he yelled over the synth, is living, but romance's fire test metal. Fall brought a case that cracked him, a young queer kid, 17, mangled in a hate-fueled bashing. DOA on his table. Ethan came home hollow-eyed, scrubs discarded like shed skin. I couldn't save him. Alex. What if? I pulled him to the floor. Our apartment a cocoon of throw blankets and takeout boxes. You can't save everyone. But you saved me. And him? His light lingers. In you. In us. We talk till dawn. Vulnerabilities bared like offerings. Forging deeper bonds. By winter's return. 1 year post-accident. We'd woven a life. His things migrating to my drawers. My sketches framing his condo walls when shifts swapped us. Claire hosted Thanksgiving. Full table. No tiptoeing. Margaret's pecan pie a peace offering. Richard pulled me aside post-meal. Beer in hand. You make him happy. Son. That's the surgery that sticks. And so, under Seattle's perpetual drizzle, we stood reborn, not from wreckage alone, but from the courage to claim the spark. Ethan proposed on that same Discovery Park bluff. Ring simple platinum with an etched swallow. Knees in the mud as gulls wheeled overhead. Orchestrate forever with me? Tears blurred the vista. Yes. 1,000 times. The wedding was small. Intimate. A rooftop affair at the Thompson Hotel. Overlooking the Sound's silver dance. June's sun gilding everything gold. Mia officiated. Voice cracking through vows we'd penned in fevered nights. Promises of steady hands in storms. Of designing dreams from scars. Ethan looked devastating in linen suit. Eyes locked on mine as we exchanged bands. The cities hum our chorus. I do, he said. Voice thick. To the man who orchestrated my heart. Guests, his team in kilts and gowns. My design crew, with rainbow boutonnieres, cheered as we kissed. Salt-laced and endless. Claire toasted. To fate's puppeteer and the doctor who learned to dance. Laughter rippled. Mia's arm around her wife. Margaret dabbing eyes beside Richard, who beamed gruff pride. Honeymoon whispered us to the San Juan Islands, cabins on Orcas, kayaks slicing fjords, nights tangled in flannel sheets with fairy horns as lullabies. We hiked to the top of Mount Constitution. Picnic spread at the summit. Ethan's head in my lap as eagles soared. 1 year ago, he murmured, tracing my ring. I was cutting into a stranger. Now, this, stranger no more, I replied, kissing knuckles scarred from saves. We talked futures, adopting Max officially, already ours. Maybe fostering teens like that lost kid, giving second chances we'd claimed. Back in the grind. Drama simmered low, a malpractice scare from a routine surgery. Ethan's nights pacing our bedroom. Doubts gnawing. What if I'm not enough? He'd whisper. Moonlight striping his worry lines. I pull him close. Heartbeat to heartbeat. You're the scalpel that mends. Flawed. Fierce, perfect. Therapy helped. Joint sessions unpacking his closet ghosts. My accident echoes, turning fractures to facets. Autumn painted the park's russet. Our first anniversary marked with a redo. That Fremont market. Apples crisp in our baskets. Max leashed at our heels. We kissed under the lights. Unhurried. As vendors hawked wares. Every meeting, Ethan said. Handcuff on my nape. Orchestrated or not, I'm grateful. Gratitude bloomed tangible. A clinic wing named for queer youth resilience. Ethan's brainchild with my murals adorning walls. vibrant swirls of rebirth, figures entwined against tempests. Opening night, donors milling. A teen approached shy. Your story? It got me here. Out. Alive. Ethan's arm snaked my waist. Voice hushed. See? We're the hook. Winter holidays folded us in family. Claire's twins toddling at our feet. Margaret's stories of Ethan's boyhood crushes, hidden poems to a classmate, tucked in journals. Richard built a birdhouse with me, tools clinking companionable. Loves the real rebuild, he grunted. Hammer steady. But life's plot twists unrelenting. Spring unearthed my fertility whisper, a routine check flagging low markers. Dreams of bio kids dash quiet. Ethan found me on the balcony, sketchpad abandoned, rain mirroring tears. Hey, he said, enveloping me from behind. Our family's canvas is wide. Surrogacy, adoption, whatever paints it full. We dove in, agency meets, profiles of waiting littles, hearts cracking open. Drama peaked with a match, a 4-year-old boy. Javier, bounced from Holmes, eyes wary as a cornered fox. Home study dragged. Doubts assailed. Ethan's shifts erratic. My gig's peaking. What if we're too broken? I voiced one night. Javier's photo taped to the fridge like talisman. Ethan knelt, hands on my knees. Broken? We're mosaic. He'll see strength in the cracks. Approval came midsummer. Javier arriving with a backpack and guarded grin. First week's chaos. Naps interrupted by nightmares. His tiny fist balled. Ethan rocked him through fevers. Stethoscope plaything. I drew us as superheroes. Capes fluttering. Bonds knit slow. Bedtime stories and Spanish-English mash. Park picnics where Max licked jelly from chins. Pride that year. Javier on our shoulders, waving a tiny flag, full circle, from my solo march to this triad of us. Daddies, he yelled, and tears pricked. Ethan's squeeze grounding. Years layered like patina. Javier's first school play, tree in a forest. Stealing scenes. Ethan's promotion to chief. My gallery show of Reborn series, sold outs. Ethan front row beaming. Drama ebbed to ripples, a custody scare quashed. Health hiccups navigated hand-clasped. On our 10th, back at the bluff. Javier 12 now. Sketching beside us with Mia's borrowed pad. Ethan pulled me aside. Still orchestrating, he teased. Wind tousling silver in his hair. Every dawn, I whispered, kissing him deep. Javier hooped. Gross. Dads, but grinned tooth-gapped. In quiet moments, value crystallized. Love, not conquest, but collaboration. Flawed souls scripting grace from grit. We'd saved each other, not with scalpels or schemes, but surrender. Reborn. Yes, endlessly, in each other's gaze.